Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hand Built Pottery. My name is Kimberlie Wright. Today is Thursday, March 26, 2021. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our demo, but before I do, I want to get you all to get a chance to get your tools and your clay if you plan on making the demo with me today. So if you want to, just go ahead and do that. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and put on my apron. Hope everybody is feeling well out there. Hope you've been working on some pottery or ceramics, making some beautiful pieces. And while you all are getting ready to create the demo with me, I'm just gonna give a couple of fun announcements. Today for March 26, 2021, we have usually holidays and events that are celebrated every day. And today is Epilepsy Awareness Day or Purple Day. Make up your own holiday is today. National Nougat Day is today. National Spinach Day, Nike Air Max Day, or Nike Air Max Day, and Wear a Hat Day. So all of these are commemorated or celebrated today, and we're going to go ahead and get started with our demo for today. So of course I want to get my canvas out. I'm going to be doing this project step by step in case you all want to, once again, make the piece on your own. You can look back on YouTube to see the video, or with me, you can make the piece. All right. And I have my canvas out, and I also have like a wet cloth in case I need to wash my hands since I'm not right beside a sink. And we need our clay. So I'm just pulling out both of these pieces of clay. And we're only going to use pretty much a small amount. Once again, we're making a small project. All right. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to bring my camera closer so that you can see better. Let's work on this lighting. See how that looks. Okay, I think that's good. So the first thing I want to do is take a small piece of clay, like I have in my hand, and I'm going to spray water in the clay to reconstitute it, squeezing it, smashing it all together, reconstituting the moisture, the water back into the clay. And then I'm going to squeeze the clay out in a long type of fashion to roll a coil. So I'm doing most of the work now, just pressing it out evenly like a rope-like piece of clay. Now I'm going to roll it and what I'm going to do is get my Pro tool or my needle tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that in half. So now I have two that's about the same size. What I want to do is round the thickest end out, which was in the center, I'm rounding it out like a ball on the end. Just kneading it and pressing it with my thumb or fingers as needed. And then I'm going to roll this end of the clay only because that's the side that I want to get thinner or skinnier. Go as slow as you need to. There's no rush. Okay, for what I'm making, I think this looks perfect. So sometimes I'm keeping my projects all secretive and everything. But right now I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know what I'm making. I'm making a cute snail. So I'm gonna round off this end as well, making it circular or like a sphere or ball, pressing it with my thumb, smoothing out any of the indentations or marks. And once that looks pretty neat, I'm gonna roll out the other end to make that side thinner, which is gonna be the tail of the snail. The rounded part of the snail of the clay represents the head of the snail. So that appears again to be pretty good for me. Now I think I can open up my canvas, sit my two snail bodies to the side, and just let them sit there while I wait. But while I'm waiting to make my other pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and just give that a spray so that it doesn't get hard. And now I'm gonna take another piece of clay. I think about this size in my hand, the palm of my hand is really good. And I'm actually measuring in my mind the proportion I need for what I'm making. Okay, I'm going on ahead and I'm actually rolling a ball. In the palms of my hands, just circling your hands around and giving a little bit of firm pressure until you feel and see the ball is circular and smooth. All right, so that looks pretty good. With another piece of clay, I'm gonna sit that to the side and give that ball a quick spray. I'm gonna fold my canvas over because I need to use the table again. I'm gonna get not too big again, just something that can fit in my hand, a significant amount of clay to roll a coil. Spraying water, adding moisture, reconstituting. Continue working. And as you see, sometimes my hand is wet with the water, then I'm working the water back into the clay, so it's not like my hands are getting really dirty or anything. And I've done 3 things. This is the 4th thing, so I haven't had to clean my hands or anything. It's about just knowing how much moisture, water to use and not. So I'm squeezing this down to a rope-like piece of clay, but evenly once again, so I can get the clay already worked down so I don't have too much work to do. And now I'm gonna go ahead and roll a coil again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the coil out somewhat thin, not too thin, but on one end it's going to be thinner than the other, just like when I made my snail bodies. So I'm just going to make sure to even that up. All the way down, you see my hand is sliding right and left, making sure to feel the clay as I go along to make sure the thickness is just how I want it. And so I have a piece of clay, as you can see as I'm moving up and down, it's larger here and gets smaller towards the end. I'm gonna go ahead and open my canvas again, lie that fourth piece to the side, as you can see the fourth piece, and I'm gonna just spray that until I'm ready to use it. All right, so I just have this rubber plate with this design. I think I want to add a bit of design to one of my snails. So I'm going to just kind of just see how it looks when I roll it on there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to try to do the other end without actually changing the size of the clay, so to speak. So that's pretty good. All right, putting that to the side. And now what I'm going to do is grab my textured feather tool or brush fan tool. And then I'm going to, I think I'll roll this out first. So my last piece of clay, I just kind of want to roll it out. I have my rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, you know, you can use a cup, spray bottle, anything that has a cylindrical or round shape that'll allow you to roll. I'm turning that back and forth so that I can make the most space out of the piece. Or open the clay up to make it wide. I'm kind of rolling that somewhat thin so that my snail piece won't be too heavy or too thick. Okay, I think that's good. And as you can see how thin that is, but it's not breaking. I'm going to take the snail that I put the design in, get in my chair, and I want to make each end of the ball sort of conish. And how I do that is place the ball in my hand like this and just move right and left, twirling the ball around, but still keeping it on that edge to make a cone. So I'm just pressing one side of the sphere or ball, and this is what it's turned into, like a little cone. And I'm going to do that to the other side as well. I just need to press that side down a little, making it conish. All right, that's good. So I'm going to do the same thing to this opposite end. It's not right here, it's not right there, it's the opposite side. All right, so I'm holding it, pressing it, just getting a gentle press and turn to go all the way in a circle. So when I finish with this, really in my hand, what it looks like is a lemon. Looks just like a lemon. All right, so that's what we have. This shape looks just like a lemon. I'm going to place my finger here. You have like one section. If I want to measure this out, I have one section here. This is the second section is third, making it even. So if I take 1/3 of the section, that's about right here, and I'm just going to kind of fold it up, and actually I'm going to put some type of a prop there right now, which would be my roller pin. You can use newspaper, rolling pin, clay itself, whatever you like, just for a quick prop. All right, so remember this thick side is the head of the snail, and this is the end, the tail of the snail. I'm gonna just go ahead and beat the clay on the table a little bit so that I can get the bottom side to have like a little flat surface. And then I'm gonna make an indentation, like a groove, so that it can sit on top of the body of the snail. This is gonna serve as the snail's shell, the home. All right, so I'm sitting it here. As I sit it there, I'm looking at it to make sure it looks how I want it to look. You see I'm making a groove here where the shell can sit. And even if I wanted to scoop out some of this clay to save clay, because you know we always wanted to save clay, that's what I can do, and it'll make the piece lighter and not so thick where it won't burst in the kiln. All right, I'm sitting that on the back of the snail. In the center, this is like the other third part of the snail. And I'm going to turn it to the side and make sure that it's attached. As you can see right here, you see like an opening in the line. I'm just gonna spray a little bit of water and go ahead and scratch the clay down so as to close up that gap and to bring the entire piece together as one. And when I do that, I'm gonna go back. I don't really have to smooth it, but I'm smoothing it somewhat just to make sure it's all blended together. But it doesn't have to be neat because I'm adding another part to the shell anyways. I'm turning it all the way around, going to the other side, as you can see here where it's open. And I'm going to put it all together. I'm scoring it or scratching the clay, the shell towards the body so as to make it all one and bring it together. Then I'm going back and smoothing that to press some of the air out and make sure that it is smooth. Okay, so I'm sitting the snail up and I beat it on the table a little bit just so it can get a flat bottom so it won't rock side to side. And now what I'm going to do is just sit that to the side for a second and get another tool that will give me some type of a design. And it's your preference what you want to use. If you research snails, you'll see all sorts of different beautiful colors on snails and patterns and designs. So right now I'm going to roll this piece. This is the tool that I'm using. It has like line grooves in it. And actually, I'm not even sure. I mean, this is a clay tool, but sometimes you can find things in thrift stores that might give you textures or, you know, those type of shops. I'm making some lines in this clay for my shell design. The clay is so thin that when I rolled it, it has a shape in this that curves upward, so it would not make the lines all the way until I actually rolled it over all the way on the sides that I'm able to hit it on. So I'm turning this piece. This is how the clay looks with the lines and everything. I'm gonna lay this down with the lines going horizontal side to side. And I'm getting my needle tool again, or my pro tool. I'm going to draw out a shape. Let's see if it's there. Oh, let's see. Okay, I had it the wrong way. I think I want it like that, up and down, and then. So because the shape of my shell surface here looks like a lemon, I'm gonna cut the same shape out of the design. It's gonna look like a lemon. So, but it's gonna be large so I can layer it over the piece to see how it looks on the snail. It's like kind of like putting the snail on some clothes. And even though I know this is extra, extra large, you still want to go larger than you probably supposed to so that you can always cut off of the piece. And you see, I just didn't throw that to the side in case I need some more of that clay. And this is how the piece looks, like a lemon. I'm bringing my snail over and I'm going to scratch or score the top. Even though I'm kind of like going off too ahead a step, but it's okay as long as I don't put any slip on it. So already I know I need to cut that down, way too large. So I'm just using the same shape that I already have, but cutting around it to make it smaller. Now I still need to go smaller. So it was better to make it larger and be able to go smaller than make it smaller. You have to make the whole thing over again. And the reason why I'm having to do that is because I'm making this by just by eye, feeling the piece. All right. That seems about good. And so what I'm going to do is get some slip, which is our clay and water, which we use for glue. Anytime we want to attach two pieces, I'm adding slip all over the snail body. So that the design will really adhere and stick to it. And now, as you can see, I have slip all on this piece. Really looks like a slug now, don't it? All right, now I'm gonna just gently place that on there, looking on each side to make sure it's centered. And I'm adding this design to the snail. Pressing it down. Okay, so once I clean up some of this slip, I can smooth out the sides as needed. I'm kind of, even though I'm smoothing out the slip as well, I'm going up under that design piece to mend that in as well. And remember, I already scratched the piece entirely, so smoothing all that in. All right, I need to clean my fingers. What I'm going to do for me, this snail's tail is a little long. I'm just gonna break that off and make the tail end pointed and a little smaller. I'm gonna curve that up, give it a little curve, yeah. Then what I'm going to do is put a little water on my finger, smooth the head of the snail so I can put the face into the snail. So what I want to do is, with this piece, I'm going to make the snail's antennas with clay, but my other snail, I'm going to just add holes because I want to add wire after the piece comes out the kiln completely with a bead on the end for the snail's antennas. So right now I'm going to grab a small tool that I'm able to put 2 holes, which would be like the top of the head. That's how that looks. Looks like eyes, but it's the top of the head. Clean up always. Move everything over. I'm moving my snail over to the side. And I'm going to get these little scraps of clay, reconstitute it, and roll a coil. My coil now is going to be really skinny to fit into the 2 holes in the top of the head, but I'm going to have like a little bulb on the end that represents the ends of the antenna. So just roll that out. And when you get it down to a good size, you want to go ahead and cut it in half so you can make 2. Maybe I'll just keep rolling first. So what I'm really doing is rolling the center so that I can get the center to come really thin to fit into the holes, and then the edges is what I'm going to have my little ball or bulb on. I think this should be perfect here. As you can see, I have 2 thick ends and 2 skinny ends. But what I'm going to do is cut it right down in the center, turn it to the side so I can measure both of them exactly the same. And I want to, this one is a little thinner, so I'm going to roll this one down to look just like the other one that I have. I need to neaten that up just a bit, because once I place the antennas inside the head of the snail, I'm not going to actually touch it anymore too much until it leathers, because I don't want the antennas to break. So I know I don't need this end here. I'm going to use, this is the part that's going to the head, and I'm going towards the edge where I have the thicker pieces. And I'm going to make that into like a ball, so to speak, again. And the other end. Anybody know any snail facts out there? Any cool information about snails?
They move slow.
They do move slow. They do move slow. How about they use their shell or as a home?
Yeah.
Is the snail part of the mollusk family?
What's the mollusk?
Mollusk, M-O-L-L-U-S-K.
That's some kind of snake.
Does that what?
What is the mollusk? Mollusk.
Hold on one second. You know what a mollusk is. We talked about that in class one time.
I don't remember.
Say what?
I probably do. I've heard the word. I just don't remember.
Mollusk is more, we say mollusk, but sometimes mollusk is used more for the, like a scientific name, but a mollusk is an invertebrate of a large phylum which includes snails, slugs, mussels, and octopuses. They have a soft, unsegmented body, and they live in aquatic or damp habitats, and most kinds have an external calcareous shell. So essentially, people don't know it, but we pick all these beautiful shells at the beach and the sea. Though all of those shells had something living in it before. And usually those seashells that we pick from the beach were part of the family of mollusks, different kind of snails and creatures like that. So the other word for mollusk is mollusca. Mollusca. Yeah. And we'll look at that in a minute. But however, so I have two rope-like pieces of clay with like a bulb on the end. And all I'm gonna do is bring my snail over and one second. Whew. I'm gonna bring my snail over and put some slip into the hole of the snail head and add my antenna. All right. So if you look at how this looks, to me, it looks awfully long. So what I'm going to do is cut both of them the same length that I deem will be a good length. And I'm going to take some slip and just drip a little bit into those holes, making sure the tip is small enough to insert in that hole. It looks long to me, kind of, but it looks natural. So I think I'm going to leave that. I'll be able to curve them in a minute, but right now I'm just letting them sit straight up and down so that they can dry a little. Let me wipe my hands. And to seal that all in, all I'm going to do is just brush around those two pieces. But I don't think I want to really brush them right now because I don't really want to brush them right now because of having to make them too soft. But I do want to go ahead and put the mouth into the piece, which is going to be like a smile all the way across. So right now, I should have done that before I put the antennas on so I wouldn't have to move it again. But what I'm going to do is just stick my two antennas together while I show you this line up under here. And what I'm going to do is take a tool to carve some of that out of the mouth area, which is going to be anything that I can scrape. You can use your needle tool, whatever you feel, but this has like a small hook on it. So that's what I'm going to do, go across the mouth area, scooping out some of that clay right across that line that I just drew. As I'm digging the clay out, I'm removing it from the tool and placing it to the side. Yikes. That's why I say you don't want to touch the thing after once you've done the antennas. All right, so this is how the mouth looks now. Oh, gotta hold those antennas up because I'm moving it.
Helpful.
What I'm going to do is just brush in between the mouth area so I can smooth that out. I have this really large brush. I should use a smaller one, but the large one will do the work as well. But the smaller one will really get into that crevice and smooth it out. I'm also going around my antennas to seal those in. You see in the center and all the way around. Remember, I told you it's going to get really moist, raking. So I'm just going to leave those stuck together for a minute until that dries. Oh.
Kim, if we wanted to, could we put a small coil around the antenna?
Of course you can. So as you can see, mine's sitting to the side right there. I'm just leaving it right there a few minutes to leather. And I'm gonna come back to it. Everything should be fine. And my last snail should be a little less complicated. But also I have to put my prop back over there, which was a rolling pin, but now I'm gonna use that tool that I had before to make the design. Just to sit up under the neck, to rest there for a second. All right. So that little piece that I set up under the neck is rolling as well. So I want to put a piece of clay in front of that as a stopper. That's good. All right, for my next snail, it's going to be pretty quick. All I want to do is take that extra long piece and go ahead and just move this excess clay out of the way. And I'm not going to flatten it all the way, but I am going to give it one gentle roll to give it a flatter consistency, but I don't want it too thinned out. I'm just doing it very gently. All right, so I've rolled this piece out, as you can see, to some flatness. This is the whole coil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, the large side would be better to be on the outside, and I'm just going to pinch that where it's completely squared out. So as you can see how this piece looks, it's not straight, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it straight. So I cut that straight. I'm just going to kind of thin that down, spreading it out a little too. And the thinner side, that's the part that I'm going to roll up first. So before I roll, I want everything to stick together. And what I'm going to do is score this all the way down. I'm going to add some slip. It's kind of like making a cinnamon roll. Add some slip to that. This is the inside of the shell that I'm making for the second snail. And I'm going to just gently take this piece. You can take something skinny to help you start to make a circle, so to speak. And let me turn to the side so you can see better. And what I'm doing is just continuing to roll this piece, making sure it's centered. Because I'm not going to take it back or loose. That's why I put the slip in the inside so that it can all stick together. I've taken my stick out. I don't need that anymore. I just want to make sure by feeling on both sides as I'm rolling that the shell is level and straight as I'm rolling. Now, even this is such a fun project that you don't have to just conform to my steps as it pertains to the design aesthetic. You can just about do what you like. And so from there, I'm going to kind of beat that flat just a bit. I think that's good. I'm going to get my second snail. Remember I said I had 3 parts. I'm going to go ahead and scratch the center part where I'm attaching this shell to. Add some slip, just so I can make sure it's attaching really good. And I'm going to place that piece right on top of there. I'm going to lay it to the side so I can scratch the bottom piece, part of the shell to the body, so that again it can be one part looking like it's all together. And as you can see, I have my score lines there, but I'm going to smooth them out. But first I'm going to the other side to scratch the bottom part of the coil down to the body so as to make it a part of it. I'm going to spray just a bit and clean that up. By smoothing it out with my fingers. And once again, I always tell you all, don't rub one way, rub circular or right and left so that the clay can distribute evenly instead of just pushing to one side. So I'm just going to take my brush. There's a portion right up under here that I can't get to, and I'm just using the brush to smooth it out since my finger can't get into that crease, so to speak. Also, you haven't seen me use my sponge today, but I am going to wet the tip of my sponge, squeeze it out, and dry that up. I'm going to the other side to smooth it out. It already had water on that side from dripping from the other side. So you don't have to add too much water and make your piece start falling apart. You got to know how much moisture to use. And now I am smoothing that once again, drying it up. I do want to use my brush to go up under the little crevice where I said my fingers won't fit. Since I wet that, I'm drying it up again. All right. So here I'm going to curve my snail upward and beat it on the table a bit to get it flat. I'm going to scratch here so that I can add some slip so that it, and the part of the shell so that I can add some slip so I can stick that body upward towards the shell. Just like so. Curve my head forward a little bit. Now I'm cleaning my brush so that I can clean all of it up where that slip just dripped down. I don't want to brush my shell too much so as to lose my design. I'm turning the snail to the other side so I can smooth that crevice or crease as well. Just straightening it out. I'm smoothing the surface of the head area to make sure it's smooth. And I'm going to put 2 holes in the top of the head, but later I'm going to use wire to put there in a bead instead of actually using the clay. So this time my holes don't have to be that large, but large enough so that the wire can be glued into the head of the snail. Now I'm going to make my mouth once again, but this time I want to make an actual, I guess, lip, so to speak. I want to see how that's going to look if I were to make a lip. So I'm just taking a piece of clay, pressing it out in a circular type of style or shape. And all I'm going to do is cut. Actually, I want to roll it just a bit because it could be a little neater. All right, that's perfect. I'm going to cut the circle in half and neaten up the edges like a half circle, looks like a pocket or a U, like that. What I'm going to do, it's a little bit large, let me cut it down more. I'm going to place it on the snail's face to see how it looks as a mouth. I think that looks pretty cool. I'm going to curve it like so. Then I'm going to place it under the snail's chin. Maybe I bring it up so it won't look so goofy. I think that looks good. And I'm going to, from this area, as you can see, I'm going to score all of that in so that it becomes part of the snail's face and looks smooth, incorporating it together. So it only needed a little bit of work because it's a small piece. And I'm taking my finger and working that in until it looks like it is one and the line is completely disappeared or dissolved or gone.
You're not inside the screen.
Ma'am?
You're not in the screen.
Sorry. Thanks, because I'm not looking at the camera at the same time. So once again, where that back was, I was just smoothing it. And as you can see, the top of the mouth.
Oh,
that's amazing.
See it?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sitting my snail back down, moving my scrap pieces of clay. And for some reason, I was just thinking I would add a design to the top of the snail's body. So I just have this tool right here. And as you can see, it's gonna roll like some kind of zigzag pattern. So I'm gonna go the opposite way. Just making a pattern along the top. Be creative, make them beautiful, do what you like. Now, as you can see this piece, you would say, well, what is it? It's a snail, but if you want to use it somehow to make it a functional piece where you're using it as something, you can. But one thing I know, I can use this as just a piece to sit in a curio case or the shelf, and I can also use it as a paperweight to weight something down on the table. This is how that design looks. If I could get down a little bit more, but I don't want to break my head back off, so, but I might as well, since I'm in the design stage and I'm able to before it dries. All right, putting that back up. And I think I want to make a long design like that down the tail, but it's going to be straight. Turn it to the other side to do the design on that side, because this is the side that's actually going to curve up. So you can see I put a design there and I have a design on this side, but I'm curving up. Young people, be mindful of somebody on the phone. So I'm thinking, is my tail too long? I think my tail is too long. So once again, I'm going to break that tail off and make it shorter and pinch it until the end is neat once again. So I have to scratch the back here, make it stick up against the shell because I want it to stand up a little. All right, so I'm taking my brush where I just put that slip just to smooth that out. Making sure I have glue everywhere because I'm pretty much done. And once again, I don't have antennas in this snail because I'm gonna, once it comes out the kiln completely, I'm gonna make antennas out of wire and maybe put one bead at the end of the wire. And so, give me 1 second. You know you always need your newspaper. So, the one that you get online, go on, go down to 19. Let's see. Go down to 19. All right. So I have my newspaper here. I'm going to go ahead and place the snail that I know is completely finished over there. As you can see, they're standing up really good, so that's good. My last coil here, I see that it kind of mended together. What I want to do is kind of make my line back right there. And I'm getting my other snail. So right here is where it keeps coming loose on the shell. I didn't ever add any slip right there. I'm gonna scratch, add a bit of slip. And push that back up. I'm gonna clean my brush in the water and smooth around that part of the snail, smoothing it out, going to the other side. Actually smoothing the entire piece since I know I'm about finished. And I'm going to open up these antennas and sit my piece to over here as well. So you got 2 snails right there playing. Until my antennas leather properly, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep them stuck together. Once they leather and dry more, I'm gonna take them apart. So do what you have to do to make the piece work, but be able to go back before it dries all the way and form it or shape it as needed. So you see I have this little bit of clay which I'm going to reconstitute because I can make something else with that. Spraying it, balling it all up once I've sprayed it, and adding it back to a plastic bag so as the plastic bag helps to keep the moisture. Even though I put it in the bag, once I get in the bag, I'm going to spray it again. And then closing up this bag. And cleaning my hands. So while that one snail is leathering, I just want to stick my prop that there again to actually hold the snail's head up the height that I really wanted. I'm moving all of my tools out of the way. As you can see, they're right here neat, all of my tools, so that I can clean them. And it's good to always keep your area clean and neat so that you can keep your mind free and actually knowledgeable about what you're doing. You don't get too overwhelmed or too confused. And if you have any little dry scraps of clay, you know you can put those into your slip jar. So I'm hitting the table a little bit just to see how wobbly my snails are. This one's still a little bit wobbly for me, so what I'm going to do is just tap it down on the table a couple more times. That should get it. Getting my tail back up. And now I'm going to allow those antennas and everything to dry well. This is how these pieces look for today. I just made 2 snails, kind of similar, but with different shells. So feel free to make your snail smaller than that. It's your choice.
I have a question in the chat for you.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be right with you. Just clean my hands up just a little bit more. How you doing today, Miss Bell? Make sure. Okay. You cold?
I just said, oh, and just thankful and
So as far as the pieces of canvas, like right now I have a new washing machine, but it's a used washing machine. But my last used washing machine, I did put a canvas in it one time to wash it, but it really gets out a lot of clay out of the canvas, the cloth. And to me, you don't want to wash that in your washing machine because it could clog up your pipes as well. But however, just to even being that you're washing your clothes in there, some of that clay might be kind of like left in there. If you were to wash canvas in your washing machine afterwards, I would run the washing machine by itself one time without anything in it to kind of cleanse it. But right now, that was like a long time ago when I washed the canvas or in the washing machine. But now I take it to the laundromat.
Ooh.
Yeah, I take my
okay.
canvas.
I wonder because they're always so clean, and I just couldn't imagine putting something like that in my washing machine.
Yeah,
So
I take them to the
okay,
laundromat because they have the more industrial washers, and the water runs such more turbulent or stronger, and so the washing at the laundromat is pretty fine to do that. And I also wash the canvases by themselves, not with clothes or anything. Just give them a chance to be cleaned out on their own. Anybody got any questions about the snail?
Yeah, Bill, how does that snail with the curled up shell, how does it get back in this? Does it go in the shell?
Does it go in the shell?
Yeah, that's the home, right? You called it home.
I'm trying to see because of the shape of it, how it goes inside there. Well, okay. Give me a second. Let me screen share with you, young, beautiful, strong, intelligent people. All right. It's just an aesthetic of how snails might look, but remember that snails have a unsegmented body. It's really slimy and squishy, so their body can probably curl up and curve into a shell. But anyhow, Give me 1 second. I'm going to share screen here. Boom. All right. You see some of these designs of the shells? You can see my mouse. Look at this shell right here. This yellow and orange one. That's just rolled up on there. But meaning it's just to show like a representation of the shell. It's not exactly, but it's a representation. And if you look at this shell, this looks like a real snail shell, but it's just still the curved or cylindrical circular shell that's kind of placed over the thing. You can see the shell, the snail on the side is giving some wavy motion to show how the snail like moves. Look at this shell. So it's just actually, this one is flat. It's just showing a representation, something to represent. Look at this shell, and these little snails kind of look like cats. And the shell is so small, you imagine how in the world that snail gonna go into that small shell. But they curl their body up, they make them smaller to crawl up in their perch, so to speak.
Okay, because
I said when you actually make your own snails, if that's something that you want to do, then you can research looking at different snails to see, some of the different designs. So I wanted to show you, look at this one. Now that's crazy, but it's still a representation of a snail. And if a child looked at it, they're gonna say, that's a snail. As I see now, I see like another roll. This one is totally different. It looks like the dollop on top of like a cupcake or something. Like the icing or whipped cream, the way that they made the shape go to the side are different. You see, these shells are entirely different. That's why I said research to see what your options are or what you can do. Even though these are really different, they're really beautiful. And I think they probably made the snails, the surface of them, a little bit larger so they could get these designs on it. I saw some that I wanted to show. Now, even these are, what I looked up here is clay snails. This is the snail that I was looking at earlier to try to get my design. And that shell looks like the shell that we bake, that we cook food in. You know, the shell, like the pasta shell. To me, that looks like the pasta shell. However, you're more than, I looked up clay snails. Look at these babies. These supposed to be babies, 2 snail babies.
oh my God. That's just wrong.
But it's art, somebody thought of it. That's when you take risks, it'll have you being the person that first thought of putting maybe a human head on a seahorse. I don't know. That's why you have to take risks and be creative in art sometimes. So I wanted to show you all, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I wanted to show you all one more thing. All right, so let me go back to the share one more time. Now, if you want to look at some real snails, then you'll see, look at this large snail with the little baby snail on the back of it. See the little baby snail right here? You see the mouth of this snail is totally different when you actually start seeing real snails. So you still see the shell, it's all curved and coiled, but it's actually hollow. And you see the skin of this snail that it can probably mush itself down or absorb itself down to make itself smaller. You
See
see,
those little creepy things in my garden?
you see some
I
of
be like, hmm.
you see these colors of snails and different patterns and shapes. 1 second, that's look at this large snail, but it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little bitty snails on top of it. So sometimes with your artwork, don't be afraid. It only takes a couple of minutes to actually research something. It looks like two snails right here having sex. Maybe they just on top of each other, but I don't think they could probably be having sex because the actual skin is on top of the shell. It could just be sitting on top of it. And right here you have a dish of somebody making snails. And what we call that is escargot. Anybody ever tried escargot?
No.
I had it on my plate before.
Ah,
I'm sure that was many, many, many years ago that I couldn't chew it though.
you couldn't eat it.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But
Well,
folks at my table were eating them.
Have you had it, Kim?
yes, I've had snails, and I've had, sorry, within the, sorry, let me stop this screen share. Stop share. All right. So within the mollusk family, I know for sure that I've eaten escargot. I don't know. I talk about my mom. Sometimes I tell y'all that she's been a chef pretty much all her life. So she used to bring really some of the weirdest delicacies or food home, but I've eaten snails. And I don't know, you might think snails are really weird because we see them on the ground and sliding all around and that type of thing. But I mean, no different than eating octopus. If you've eaten calamari or squid, because that's from the same family. Anybody?
That's a different snail that you see on the ground from the one or the snails that you eat. It will come out of the ocean.
Yes,
That's a
sir. Yes, sir. But I'm saying due to the fact that we see snails on the ground, it probably like turns us off to say, I don't want to eat no snail.
They're good. They're cooked in garlic butter and all. And
Yeah, garlic, butter, and the herbs. They are so delicious. And I was just asking everybody, have you eaten octopus?
Yeah, I read them. Frog
Yeah,
leg, alligator, I ate all of it.
that's from the same family. And so when we think about some things that we eat, we were talking in our class the other day about people eating certain things around the world. And I guess that's the difference between being a vegan, eating only plant-based foods, and eating living foods anyway, because what you might think is taboo, somebody else might think what you're eating is taboo. Like, in what is it, India, they don't eat cows, they don't eat beef because they think that the cow should be celebrated and it's sacred. So in some countries, people don't eat beef. Some countries, y'all talk about people eat cat and dog as a delicacy, but the whole thing is, I know that a lot of people in the West, which is America, when we eat certain foods, we like to see it in the state of it sitting on your plate, not being live with eyes and feet and arms and legs, and we're not used to probably seeing a lot of animals being slaughtered or killed and that type of thing. So I guess it's just really, it's not like really to turn your nose up at somebody else, but it's all about culture and how you were raised and what you're used to pretty much. So anybody interested in making a snail, eating snail?
No,
Try some if you like.
they're cute though. They're real cute.
So,
Kim, I have a
Farmers market selling.
say it again.
The Cal Farmers Market.
Yep, the Cab Farmers Market out there on East Point, Leon. Miss Etheria, you was gonna say something?
yes, it's been so long ago, but what can you show us some of those projects you made that you had the forest? I mean, past projects you made, you've never shown us and the finished product.
camera for you. I love you so much, Miss Etheria Smith Pearson, but I know the reason why you asking me that is because you ready to see them spoons that you put claim on. But actually, I don't have that stuff here right now. I'm definitely gonna show you all. I don't have it right here, so I would have been showed it to you all. You lovely people.
Knife, spoon, and fork.
Oh, okay. Nice. Miss Etheria, you so funny. Yes, beyond the knife, spoon, and fork, I'm gonna come back and show you several projects that I've already made, but I don't have it here today. They're at the kiln, sorry, at the facility. I'm talking about at the kiln.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanna do one more thing. And then we're gonna sign out. If you don't have any more questions. I'm gonna put the email address that you're supposed to send your photography to in the chat as well. Oh, sorry. So, is there anybody in class today that was not in class tomorrow? Miss Kara Brown Willis.
It wasn't in when?
Miss Kara Brown Willis.
Yes.
We are possibly, I have to check with my manager. We are possibly having a play schedule Monday, but to try to make it easy on me making all these phone calls, I try to see if y'all want to come in class. Miss Regina Brantley is coming Monday at 1:30. Would you like to come?
That's fine.
All right. What about you, Miss Jacqueline Lattimore?
Yeah, to bring my clay projects to be fired.
Okay. So I have a play schedule Monday. If it changes, I just have to call y'all to let y'all know it changed, but it's supposed to be from Monday to 1:30 to 2:30. So Ms. Jacqueline, between 1:30 and 2:30.
Okay.
What time?
Oh, 1:30.
It's your choice, love. 1:30.
1:30.
Terry, 1:30. Anybody else in class? Miss Deborah Bell. Oh, yeah, I got you, Miss Deborah Bell. So it looks like everybody. Yeah. So anybody?
Kimmy, I have something that needs to be fired too.
Okay, you know, I get it from you, Gloria Bell. And also, so please stay online. If you have to go to another class, feel free to take any classes that you're interested in. And thank you once again for supporting this class, Hand Built Pottery. And I love you all. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A good weekend.
Hold on.